Thank you. This morning on He Said, She Said, the stresses of buying a home. It's one of the biggest decisions some couples will ever make. And from budgets to bedrooms, men and women often have different opinions and priorities.
I had to have a larger kitchen.
In the kitchen, I wanted a lot of cabinet space in the kitchen as well.
I will have to say one of the must-haves too for me would have been a basement, a nicer basement, which we didn't, the man cave as we call it.
An extra room for a man cave.
For Albert and Linda, and Mark and Elizabeth, finding a deal on a home included plenty of deal breakers.
You did not want to renovate. You did not want to go through that process over again.
And debate about taking the leap or to keep looking.
Linda basically knew when she came in that she wanted this place. I had to come back a couple times.
You're more logical.
Yeah.
I fell in love with it.
Like Linda, 70% of women know it's the house they want after one visit.
If a home shows well, that is just what takes precedence when they walk in the door.
And location?
Women tend to want to be closer to the family, and men want to be closer to their work.
In the end, buying a home can mean selling a compromise.
Linda had the foresight to see that, when we want to start a family, we needed the room to do that. So I'm really glad that she was able to, convince me that this is the right place.
He was able to get me on board with him by kind of working me through the process and getting me to understand that it wasn't such a far-fetched dream. We could make it work.
And here with more on how couples can navigate the home buying process is Today real estate contributor Barbara Corcoran. Barbara, good morning.
Good morning, Amy.
Obviously, we know there are lots of differences of opinion, but there is one major thing that couples do need to agree on. What is that?
That's setting the budget on the front end. Even though most people go over the budget by a good 15%, that's okay, but you've got to agree on it on the front end, and it avoids a lot of arguments down the road.
Yeah, and to avoid many conflicts that will inevitably take place, what are some of the things that couples should have squared away before they get started?
One of the things they should do is they should go out and get the financing from a bank. It's not only smart business to know exactly how much money you have in hand, but also it's a great negotiating tool when you're out shopping for that home.
All right, once the budget is set and it's about what kind of house you buy and where you buy it, what do couples need to discuss that could end up being deal breakers in the end?
You really need to sit down individually and make a dream list of what your A priorities are, what your must-haves are. Once that's down on paper, you compare them and you agree on what you must have. You don't have to agree on everything, but you sure have to agree on the major items that you want in that home.
And what kind of role does the broker end up playing in these types of scenarios? I mean, marriage counselor, deal negotiator, what is the role?
Almost always a marriage counselor, because real estate has a lot more to do with people than anything about the actual house. But if you're open with your real estate broker and really discuss what you want, a good broker will not only show you what you could afford for the money you have in hand, but they'll also suggest things you never even thought about. So having that open dialogue is really where you get the most money for your most bang for your money, is what I meant to say.
And you suggest that couples go to open houses, even as a trial run, for what they may be looking at down the road. Why? Why is that a good option?
You just use the open houses. What you can do is walk in as many open houses as you want, compare notes, and see where your points of differences are. Because if you wait until you find the real kahuna, the real deal, the house you want, and you start arguing or debating about that, the next couple walks away with the house just exactly when you've decided you want it.
I loved what some of these surveys showed. One of them that women make the decision as to whether or not they want the house quicker than men. 70% of them made up their mind the day they walked into the house. I have to admit, I'm that kind of a person too. But you say that's probably not a good idea. You should go for a second showing.
You should go for a second and a third showing, because what happens is if you go a different time of day, a different day of the week, you'll discover things you hadn't seen the first time. Like where the morning garbage route is, for example, or whether you have a noisy neighbor next door, or even what the neighborhood looks like during rush hour. Yet most people, when they do return the same time of day out of habit.
And this is an important thing, I think, for most couples to realize, that the perfect house for both the man and the woman probably isn't out there. So then, that said, how do you settle, or how do you know when to settle? When is it worth it?
Well, settle is a bad word because it sounds like you're going home disappointed. But whether you have $200,000 to spend or $2 million, no one ever gets the perfect house. What's important here is that you find a house that you feel you could really make a home. And the number one thing that most first-time buyers, their mistake is they think they're going to make an improvement in a house, that they are going to make it a dream house, but they never bring a contractor contractor in to tell them what it's going to cost. So a little bit of reality is also helpful.
All right, Barbara Corcoran,
My
thanks so
pleasure.
much. We appreciate it. Coming up next, if you're looking for a weekend getaway, we have the steals and deals you need to know. But first, these messages.